The rain hit my windshield hard, blurring the porch light of the house I grew up in. My hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. I'd driven 3 hours to get here, straight from my apartment in Ohio, because my mom finally answered my calls after 2 months of silence. I stepped out of the car and walked up the same cracked driveway I used to ride my bike on as a kid. The porch light flickered. My dad opened the door before I even knocked. He didn't smile. He didn't hug me. He just stood there, arms crossed, blocking the doorway like I was a stranger selling something. "You shouldn't have come, Daniel," he said. Behind him, I saw my mom in the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, refusing to look at me. "Dad, what's going on? You told me to come." He shook his head slowly. "We talked it over, your mother and I. We don't think you're part of this family anymore." The words hit me like a fist to the chest. 2 months ago, I was the son who paid for half the groceries in this house. Now I was standing in the rain, disowned, and I still didn't know why. The porch light buzzed above us, and for a second nobody said anything. Just the rain hammering the gutters and my heart pounding in my ears. "Disowned," I repeated. "Over what? What did I do?" My dad's jaw tightened. He glanced back at my mom, like he was waiting for her to step in and explain. She didn't. She just kept wiping that same spot on the towel, over and over, like her hands needed something to do. "You know what you did," he finally said. I didn't. That was the terrifying part. I ran through every conversation, every visit, every phone call from the last few months. Nothing that explained this. Then I noticed something on the hallway table behind him, a stack of thick cream-colored envelopes, gold lettering on the front, wedding invitations. My sister Emily was getting married. I knew that much. What I didn't know was why the sight of those envelopes made my stomach drop like I'd missed the last step on a staircase. "Is this about Emily's wedding?" I asked. My dad's eyes flickered just for a second, and that was all the answer I needed. Something had happened, something involving money, involving my sister, and somehow involving me. "Ask your bank account," he said, and shut the door. I stood on that porch for a full minute, staring at the door like it might open again if I waited long enough. It didn't. Ask your bank account. What did that even mean? I pulled out my phone right there in the rain, my fingers slipping on the wet screen. I opened my banking app, and that's when I saw it. A withdrawal, $82,000, gone from my savings account, the one I'd built for 6 years working overtime shifts at the plant, saving for a house someday. My chest went cold. I checked the date, 3 weeks ago. I didn't make that withdrawal. I hadn't authorized anything close to that. My mind raced back through the last month, searching for anything that made sense. Then I remembered, 3 weeks ago, I'd given my mom my banking login information just for a few days so she could help me set up automatic bill pay while I was out of state for work training. I trusted her. She was my mother. Now $82,000 was missing, and my parents were acting like I was the one who did something wrong. I'd banged on the door again, harder this time. "Mom, open the door. I need to talk to you." Nothing, just silence and the rain and the sound of my own heartbeat drowning everything else out. I sat in my car outside that house for almost an hour, engine running, heater blasting, trying to make sense of numbers that refused to make sense. 6 years of double shifts, 6 years of skipping vacations, skipping nice cars, skipping everything so I'd have something solid under my feet one day. Gone. I called Emily. She didn't pick up. I texted her, "We need to talk now."
The 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, one line came back. I'll call you later, Daniel. Please don't make this harder than it already is. Harder than it already is. Like I was the problem. I drove to a diner on Route 9, the one Emily and I used to stop at after high school football games. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared at my phone, waiting. An hour passed before she called. "Emily, where is my money?" She was quiet for a long moment. I could hear something in the background. Voices, laughter, glasses clinking. She was at an event. Probably a wedding shower. "Mom said you agreed to help me," she said carefully. "For the wedding. The venue, the dress, the catering. She said you offered." My stomach dropped all over again. "I never offered anything, Emily. I didn't even know about this." Silence. Then quieter. "That's not what Mom told me." The line went quiet except for that distant laughter behind her, and I felt something crack open in my chest. My own sister didn't believe me. "Emily, listen to me. Someone took $82,000 out of my account. I never gave anyone permission to spend my money on a wedding." "Then why did Mom say you were the one who insisted? She said you felt guilty for not being around enough, that you wanted to make it up to me." Her voice cracked a little. "She showed me a text, Daniel, from your number." My hand tightened around the phone. "What text?" "She has screenshots. I saw them myself." I closed my eyes. Someone had my banking login for 3 days. Someone could have had access to more than just bill pay. Someone could have sent messages from an app still logged into my phone number through some kind of forwarding trick, or maybe never needed to fake anything at all if they had access to my actual phone that weekend I was traveling. "Emily, please, just believe me for 1 second. I would never do that behind your back, but I also never agreed to it out loud." She sighed, and for the first time I heard doubt creep into her voice. Real doubt. Not just loyalty to Mom. "Then who did?" I didn't have an answer yet, but sitting in that diner booth, staring at my cold coffee, I knew exactly where I needed to start looking. I drove straight to my apartment that night, soaked through, and pulled every bill, every notification, every email tied to my bank account. My hands were shaking so bad I had to set the laptop down twice. That's when I found it. An email from my bank, sent 3 weeks ago, confirming a change to my account's contact phone number. I never made that change. I called the bank's fraud line first thing the next morning. The woman on the phone was patient, walking me through the timeline. The number had been switched temporarily, then switched back 4 days later. Whoever did it needed access just long enough to move the money and cover their tracks. "Was the change made online or in person?" I asked. "In person," she said, "at our branch on 5th Street. There's a note here that the representative verified identity using your driver's license." My stomach turned to ice. I hadn't been anywhere near 5th Street in months. That meant somebody had my ID, my actual physical ID. I thought about who had access to my apartment, who had access to my wallet. Only one person had a spare key. Only one person had stayed with me for 3 days that same week, helping me pack for my work trip. My mother. I sat there on the edge of my bed, phone still in my hand, feeling something I never wanted to feel about her. Not confusion anymore. Suspicion.
I didn't want to believe it. Even with the evidence stacking up in front of me, some part of me kept looking for another explanation. Mothers don't do this to their sons. Not the woman who used to sit up with me during fevers, who cried at my high school graduation like I'd cured cancer. But the facts didn't care what I wanted to believe. I called my cousin Marcus, the only person in the family who ever told me the truth, even when it hurt. Marcus worked as a loan officer, and he owed me a favor from years back when I helped him move apartments in the middle of winter. "I need you to look into something for me," I said, off the record. He was quiet for a second.
Is this about the wedding money? Because Aunt Carol's been telling people you're the one who backed out on a promise. That's a lie, Marcus. I never promised anything. He exhaled slow. I figured. Your mom's been acting strange for months, Danya. Not just about this. There's been talk. Money trouble. Your dad's construction business took a hit last year, bigger than anyone let on. My chest tightened. How bad? Bad enough that they almost lost the house in the spring. Everything started clicking into place, piece by piece, forming a picture I didn't want to see. This wasn't just about Emily's wedding. This was about survival, desperation, and somebody willing to sacrifice me to fix it. Marcus agreed to pull whatever public records he could find, quietly, without raising questions. 2 days later, he called me back, and his voice sounded different, careful, like he was about to hand me something heavy. There's a lien on your parents' house, he said, filed back in February. Your dad's business partner sued him personally after the company folded. They were looking at losing everything, the house, the truck, all of it. And the $82,000? Paid off almost that exact amount to the lien holder in a lump sum 3 weeks ago. The room tilted a little. It wasn't Emily's wedding at all. Or maybe it was partly that, a cover story, something easier to explain to family than the truth. My savings hadn't paid for a venue and a dress. It had saved my parents' house. And they let me believe I betrayed my own sister. They let Emily believe I broke a promise I never made. They stood on that porch and disowned me rather than admit what they'd actually done. I sat with that for a long time, phone resting on my knee, staring at nothing. 6 years of sacrifice, taken without a word, then buried under a lie designed to make me the villain instead of the victim. I wasn't angry yet, not fully. I was somewhere colder than that. I was done being quiet. I picked up the phone and called Emily back. Emily, I need you to listen to me all the way through before you say anything. She was quiet, so I kept going. I told her about the fraud line, the changed contact number, the trip to the 5th Street branch I never made. I told her about Marcus, the lien, the lawsuit, the exact number that matched almost dollar for dollar. Silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. That's not possible, she finally said, but her voice had lost its certainty. Mom showed me texts, Daniel. I saw your name on the screen. Anyone with my phone for 3 days could send a text and delete it after. I was traveling for work. Mom was staying at my apartment, remember? Packing boxes for me, she said. Emily's breath caught. I could tell by the way the air changed on the line. She was gone one afternoon, she said slowly, almost to herself. She told me she went to get lunch. She was gone almost 2 hours. 5th Street was 20 minutes from my apartment. Round trip, with the wait at the branch, that lined up close enough to make my skin crawl. Emily, I don't care about the wedding money anymore. I care that they let our whole family believe I did something monstrous when I'm the one who got robbed. She didn't respond right away. When she did, her voice was shaking. I need to see Mom, today. We met at Emily's apartment that afternoon, and I brought printouts, the fraud report, the bank timeline, everything Marcus had dug up about the lien. Emily sat across from me at her kitchen table, hands pressed flat against the surface like she needed it to stay steady. She called our mother and put her on speaker, not warning her I was there. Mom, I'm sitting here with Daniel. He showed me the bank records, the real ones.
There was a pause on the line, longer than any pause should last. Then my mother's voice came through, tight and defensive. You don't understand what your father and I were dealing with. Then explain it, I said, my own voice steadier than I expected. Tell me why you took my savings, forged the story that I offered it, and let Dad throw me out of the house like I was a thief. Another silence.
Then quieter, almost broken. "We were going to lose everything, Daniel. The house, 40 years of marriage, gone because of one bad business deal. I panicked. I thought once things settled, I'd explain everything to you privately, pay you back slowly. I never meant for Emily to think you'd betrayed her. I never meant for your father to disown you over it. That was never supposed to happen." "But it did happen," I said, "and you let it." Emily was crying quietly beside me, her hand over her mouth, staring at the phone like it belonged to someone she no longer recognized. My mother kept talking, her voice cracking apart piece by piece. "Your father doesn't know I used your account without asking. He thinks Emily's fiancé's family covered the difference on the venue. I told him a version he could live with, and then he found out about the missing money in your account somehow, and he panicked, and he said things to you I never approved of. He stood on that porch and told me I wasn't part of this family anymore, Mom. That wasn't nothing. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. I know, and I'm sorry. I've been sick over this every single day." Emily wiped her face and leaned toward the phone. "You let me believe my own brother didn't care enough to show up for me the right way. Do you understand what that did to us? We haven't spoken in weeks because of a lie you told to protect yourself." "I was trying to protect this family," my mother said, but even she didn't sound convinced anymore. "No," I said, "you were trying to protect the house. There's a difference." I told her I wanted the money back, every dollar, on a real repayment plan, in writing, reviewed by someone outside the family, so there'd be no more confusion about who agreed to what. I told her I wanted my father to hear the truth from her, not from me, and I wanted an apology that didn't come with excuses attached. She agreed, quietly, like a woman with no other option left. 3 weeks later, my father showed up at my apartment without calling first. I almost didn't answer the door. When I did, he looked older than I remembered, tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. "Your mother told me everything, the real version." I stepped back and let him in. He sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I used to do homework as a kid whenever I stayed at their place, and he stared at his hands for a long time before he spoke again. "I said something to you on that porch I can't take back. I judged you before I even asked you a single question. That's on me, not just your mother. You believed her over me, no questions asked. I did, and I was wrong to do it." He looked up at me, eyes wet in a way I'd never seen from him. "I don't know how to fix 6 years of your savings or the words I said in the rain, but I'd like the chance to try if you'll let me." Emily and I stood together at the wedding 2 months later, repaired but not unscarred. My parents paid back what they could, a little every month, with papers signed and witnessed this time. No more assumptions, no more silence was taken for guilt. I learned that family isn't tested by comfort, it's tested by truth, and whether the people who claim to love you choose it when it costs them something. That was the lesson. That was the ending I never saw coming, sitting alone in the rain outside a house that almost stopped being my home.